I know that all of us want to create answers. We're always looking for answers to address some of the homelessness. Sorry, Raul, you're kind of. Thank you. I just, you know, we're all looking for answers. This is one of the hardest problems we're trying to tackle in our city. And I don't want people walking away thinking that we're not doing anything because somebody said we're not doing anything. And I think it's important for us to know that this staff, this council is very serious about trying to solve this problem. We have approved more permanent homeless housing than any other city I know. 700 at least, if Jackie can correct me if I'm wrong. 700 in the last couple of years have been approved. Many have been built and are being built. We've approved a permanent faith collaborative effort to house people in churches. We have emergency shelters. We are doing some of the things that Councilmember Rocha and I put in our memo. But like everything in life, you know, an idea may be the right answer, but it may not be. And the evidence that we received and I analyzed didn't lead me down the direction of thinking that this is the right answer for our community. Not just because that it was expensive, and it is expensive, and I don't know of any time in the last 5 years where I've taken a vote on something that I thought government's going to get it done faster and cheaper than anything else. I've never. More times than not, things have taken longer and have been more expensive than even staff has quoted on many occasions. So the fact that we're talking about making things less expensive, it's nice to talk about. But let's just definitely take a look at staff's what you all have been stating are conservative numbers, and use them as real numbers here. The questions that I have are not. My biggest concern is that this is going to take much longer. Everybody thinks that as soon as we pass this today, many people think we're going to get something done by tomorrow or even by January. We're coming back with a report by January, and if you take a look at the staff's report, there's a specific timeline for CEQA evaluations, for community outreach, things that have to be done before one of these developments can come up. And we have passed bridge housing before. We have. It was called Evans Lane. It was promised in 6 months last year in November. And we have had, do we have a bridge housing project, Jackie, on Evans Lane?
We don't. Actually, Evans Lane is not going to be using unconventional structures, is actually using conventional structures. And the challenge with Evans Lane has actually been the site itself. It's in a floodplain, and it's taken an extensive amount of work to try to figure out how to address those floodplain issues.
And I understand, but any of the sites that we're recommending here could have similar issues. They could be in a floodplain. They could be in there could be some hazardous waste materials. Anything can come up in a CEQA report. Am I incorrect in assuming this?
You're absolutely correct, which is why we wanted to have the flexibility of doing CEQA on at least 3 sites, so that if we ran up against something like the Evans Lane issue, we would pick the site. I think that would be that we could really expedite and not have to go through this more laborious process.
Yeah. Well, so I do want to thank staff because I think they did take some of the concerns of the community that in the last go around that we've had. The concerns about too close to residential units, and I do like some of the criteria. But the reason why I won't be supporting this today is it doesn't address the timeline and the cost. We can actually, and I've done extremely rough numbers here, but we can actually quadruple the amount of people that we're helping with the memo that Councilmember Rocha and I have recommended, and we could do it much faster. It won't take us long to go on, Craigslist and find places to rent rather than doing secret reports and all this other stuff. What we have put together is an affordable, achievable, and acceptable solution. And that's why we put it forward, not because we want to skirt a great idea, but it is actually immediately implementable, something that could be done today and is currently being done, and it's a proven solution. That's why we put the memo together. I'd rather see the $2.3 million that we're planning on spending on this experiment instead being spent on achievable, affordable solutions that are immediately implementable. And that's why I won't be supporting this, not because I don't think that this is an interesting idea. I did support it when it first came to City Council to investigate. I am merely working off the facts that are before us today, and the way I looked at the facts, it doesn't equate going forward on this experiment. I'd rather go with something proven, affordable, implementable, and that's why I'm siding on the other side today. Thank you.
Councilmember Rocha, I think you're next.
Yes, Councilmember Rocha, I think you're next.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So I did have really just a couple questions for staff. And now with the site selection and criteria, that's going to be the next step, as I understand it.
Correct. So if you approve our criteria.
Do you have that in the I'm sorry, the PowerPoint, if you wouldn't mind, because I don't have the PowerPoint.
So the next step would be running the entire list through this site prioritization and criteria so that we could then get a ranked list out.
And that would happen, and again, not having that timeline.
Sure.
Slide.
We would want to do that in January.
And then it would be done.
January.
So it'd be done by January. And is that coming back to council to?
It would not come back to council. So our idea would be we run it through, we verify it internally, and then we take the top 3. And we immediately start an outreach process with the top 3 and start CEQA.
Okay. And the council would only be informed through an info memo or?
Correct. We would let you know, and then we would have to come back with, we did all the site analysis, we got through the CEQA, we worked with the community groups, here's where we're at, we need money, we need you to approve the operator, and we would have you take all those actions all at once.
So, and you would put those 3 sites in front of us with all its pros and cons for us to decide?
Correct. We would bring back the 3 sites, unless you gave us any different direction today. I'm hearing Councilman Perales has a very strong interest. If one of the 3 was someone in his district, we would, obviously let you know that as well.
Thank you. That's also, I appreciate and very much thank Councilmember Perales for his courage on this and leadership. But what if there wasn't one in District 3? Then that offer means nothing, right? Then we're back to these particular sites and having a discussion with 3 different communities. Okay, thank you. And if you could go to the timeline slide, if you don't mind.